Fashion Guide. I am Joidala GJ for short. If today is your first time, you are welcome. Please click on the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Support my channel by subscribing and sharing my videos. You are welcome. For you who is a returning subscriber, I want to say thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for sharing my video. Have you seen this video yet on how I make this lovely dress? The tutorial is on the channel, and I'll also be leaving the link down in the description box below so you can watch it. Like I said at the beginning of this month of November is dedicated to beginners. So we'll be making videos for beginners. In today's class, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a box pleat. I've done a video on that before, but I'm going to be explaining to beginners the easy way for them to make a box pleat, how to calculate on fabric, how to determine the amount of fabric to use, to know the width of each plate, how to form them. Okay, so that is what we are going to be learning today. So if that is what you would like to learn, then ensure to watch this video to the end, and don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to subscribe. For those who do not know what a box pleat look like, it's just like the one you are seeing on the screen right now. So without further ado, let's go to the board and see how we can calculate box pleat. Let's go. So when making a box pleat, the major measurement that we'll need is the waist measurement. Most times we form the box pleat on the waist, either for a skirt or for a dress. Like the picture you are seeing on the screen right now is for a skirt. So you need the waist measurement. And then don't forget to include your zipper allowance to your measurement. So those are the two basic things that you need. You need the waist, and then you need the zipper allowance. So how do you know the amount of fabric to use? Now there are two ways that you can determine the amount of fabric to use. The first one is that you multiply the waist measurement, you multiply it by 2 or by 3. So if your waist, for example, is 36, you simply say 36 times 2, or you say 36 times 3. Or if your waist is, let's say, 40, then you simply say 40 times 2 or 40 times 3. And then whatever answer that you have, you add zipper allowance to it. The zipper allowance can be 2 inches on both sides, making 4, or 1.5 inches on each side, making 3. And then the second way that you can know the amount of fabric that you use is by the yardage of the fabric. Yardage is simply how the fabric comes. There are some that comes by 33 inches, some come by 34, some come by 35, some come by 36. So when you are buying the real akara, they usually come by 36, but those rubber ones, they come by 33 or by 34. So when you are going to make a box pleat, then you now determine whether to use 2 yards of fabric, or to use 2.5 yards, or to use 3 yards of fabric, depending on how full you want your skirt to be. Depending on how full you want your skirt to be, so you can use the waist circumference, or you use the yardage. So the waist measurement, which is the waist circumference or the yardage. Now, having known the fabric to use, after you have determined the fabric, the next thing you want to consider is the number of pleats that you want to have. The number of pleats you want to have. Most times our box pleat, the maximum is 6, but you can always have more or less. So it depends on you. You want to have 6 box pleats, you want to have 8, or you want to have 10, No, depending on how you like it on and the style. So you consider the fabric, you consider total fabric to use, then you consider number of pleats, and then the third thing you want to consider is the width of the pleats. A box pleat, most times looking at that picture, the pleats are close, they are very close to each other. There is no space in between. They are very, very close together. And then another striking thing about the box pleat is that they are of the same width. So if, for example, this from here to here is 5 inches, then all of them will be 5 inches. If you want to make use of 3 inches, then all of them will be 3 inches wide. 3 inches wide. So they are usually of the same width. So they have the same width. So your amount of fabric you have will help you to know the width of the fabric. So how do you know that? Let's look at an example. If I'm using a width of, say, let's say 30, if the waist is 30, then I'm going to consider the number of pleats, and number of pleats, I decide to make the pleat 6. So to know the width of each pleat, it will be the waist, this waist divided by the number of pleats, which is 30 divided by 6, and that will give us 5. So that means that means you are going to have 6 pleats. You are going to have 6 box pleats, and each of them will be 5 inches wide. Each of them will be 5 inches wide. So that by the time you add all of the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, you now have the length of the waist. So that is how to determine the number of pleats. Okay. Now the next thing you want to consider is the total fabric for each pleat. Fabric for each pleat. Amount of fabric for each pleat. So you want to consider the amount of fabric for each pleat. So if, for example, we are working with a waist of 12 inches, let's say, for example, and then we decided that we are going to make use of a fabric multiplying the waist by 2 to have 24. So the total fabric we are using is 24 inches. And for this waist, we have said that we want to make use of, let's say we want to have 4 pleats. We want to have 4 pleats. Remember that to determine the width of the plate, you multiply the waist by the number of pleats, and that will give us 3 inches. So that means the width of each plate will be 3 inches. But remember that the fabric is 24. The fabric is 24. So to know the total fabric you are going to use for each plate, you consider, there are 2 ways you do it. One, you consider what you use in multiplying the waist and simply multiply the width that you already have. So the waist here will multiply by 2. So that means to have a width of 3 inches, we need a fabric of 3 times 2, which is 6 inches. Okay, and another way that you can do it is to multiply the total fabric that you are working with. You divide the total fabric you are working with by the number of pleats. That is another way that you can do it. Total fabric, you divide total fabric by the number of pleats. So the total fabric you are using, in this example we are using 24, and we want to have 4 pleats. So by the time you divide, you have 6. So those are the 2 ways that you can determine the amount of fabric to use. Okay, so let's look at another example. We are going to be practicalizing on fabric, but let's just look at the examples. Now, assuming I'm working with a waist of 30, waist circumference 30 inches, then I'll consider my zipper allowance. I want to have a zipper allowance of 1.5 inch on each side of the skirt, 1.5 each, making 3 inches. Okay, and then the amount of fabric that I want to use is waist times 3. If I multiply waist times 3, I'll have 30 times 3, which is 90 inches. So to this 19 inches, I will add the zipper allowance. So that will give me the total fabric that I need to use. So total will be the waist plus the zipper allowance. So if I'm making use of the total waist is 90 plus zipper, which is 3, that will be 93. So the fabric that I need is 93 inches long or 93 inches wide. That is the amount of fabric that I need, 93 inches wide. Okay, and then this is what I'm going to cut out from my fabric. I will cut out 93. But when we are now marking on our fabric, assuming this is fabric, before you start, you mark the zipper. This is the 1.5, this is the 1.5. Okay, let me put ZA here, ZA here. Okay, and then from the example that we did, if we said we want to have 6 box pleats, we want to have 6 box pleats. Okay, so I said there are 2 ways to do it. Since you multiply the waist by 3, you can go ahead and multiply the number of pleats by 3. Okay, so we want the waist circumference is 30, number of pleats is 6, and then the width of the pleats is 30 over 6, which is 5. And then for the fabric, we decide to multiply waist by 3. Okay, so that means the width of the fabric now will now be 5 times 3, which is 15 inches. So for each pleat, I need 15 inches wide of width of fabric. If I don't want to do it like this, I'll simply divide 90 by the number of pleats. I'll divide the total fabric minus, I will not add the zipper allowance because the pleats will not get to the zipper allowance. I won't add the zipper allowance. I will only consider the waist area that we are multiplying. So that will 90 divided by 6, and that is 15. So for each pleat I need 15 inches. Now to form the pleat, from this zipper allowance on your fabric, you will mark 15 inches. I'm going to show you on fabric, but I want to explain first. So after marking 15 inches like this, then you get the midpoint. The midpoint of 15, let's say somewhere here. You have 7.5 this way. You have 7.5 this way. And we want the width of our pleat to be 5. That is the wideness of our pleat. We want it to be 5. This is the middle. We'll share 5 into 2. By the time we do that, we'll have 2.5. So we put 2.5 this way, we put 2.5 this way. So from here, we mark 2.5. From here, we mark 2.5. So this is now the width of the pleat. And then to now form the pleat, you just simply take this, fold it on this, take this, fold it on this. So we fold to the left, we fold to the right, and then we form our pleat. So when you are done with the first one, you go ahead again, and from where that one stop, from there again you measure another 15, and that is how we continue the pattern. So I'm going to be showing you on fabric how to make use of a pleat with this 30, and also I will also show you on fabric how to use, for example, a waist of 12. Let's say a waist of 12, and then want to multiply this by 2, having 24. And then the zip allowance on each side, we want 2 inches on each side, making 4. So the total length or the total weight is 28. And then the number of pleats, we want a total pleat of 6. So 6. Then the width of the pleat for this 6, the width of the pleat will be 12 divided by 6, which will give us 2. So that is the width of the pleat. And then the total fabric for pleat, will be these 2 multiplied by the number of times you are multiplying the waist, which is 4, or you simply divide 24. You divide 24 by the number of pleats, 6, and then you have 4. So these are the 2 examples I'm going to be showing you on fabric. So let's go to the tip. We are working on the right side of our fabric. For our first example, the waist of 12 inches. From what we calculated, we have a total of 28. So I have 28 inches here. And then we set the zipper allowance 2 inches on each side. So I'm going to, so on your fabric like this, you mark the zipper allowance. So this is the zipper allowance, 2 inches. This is the second zipper allowance. So I'm placing a pin there so you can see it. And then in between is what we are now going to, that is where we are working with. In between is 24. And then we want to have 6 pleats. We want to have 6 pleats. And the width of each pleat for the fabric is 4, for what we have explained. So I just go ahead and just mark the width of the fabric. So let's mark that. We are using 4, 4. Okay, so So I'm placing the pin in case you can't see the chalk mark. This is where we have 4/4, the width of the pleat. Okay, so if you count the space that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is the 6 pleats that we want to make. So how do you now form the pleat? So we start from the first space. The first space is 4 inches. We get the midpoint of that. We mark the midpoint, and then the width of the pleat is 2 inches. 2 inches. So if you divide 2, we are going to share 2 on both sides. So if you share 2 on both sides, it means that you have 1 inch this way, you also have 1 inch this way. So you go ahead and mark 1 inch on each side. Okay, so we have shared it into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and each of the 4 is 1 inch wide. Okay, so this is the middle, this is the midpoint, and the width of our pleat is 2 inches. So this is our 2 inches. I hope you can see it. I hope it's clear. So this is our 2 inches. So what you do now is to pick this, you bring it to this beginning, you also pick this and take it to where it's going to end. Just fold it in like this, then you use your pin to hold it down. You do the same thing here. From this mark, you take it to this side, take it to this side like this, and then you use the pin to hold it down. So we have formed the first pleat. Very easy, right? So the width is 2 inches. So that is our first pleat. So let me do it in a way that the chalk mark will show, so that make sure that the fabric is relaxed. So this is our first pleat. You do the same thing for the second one. The gap in between, you see, it is 4 inches. You mark the midpoint. You mark 1 inch to this side. You mark 1 inch also to this side. So you pick this, you bring it close to the beginning of this like this, using your chalk mark as a guide. Then you can use your tape again. Make sure that you are in the correct place. And then you bring this to this side. So we have formed the second pleat. So this is 2 inches. So that is how you are going to continue. That is how you are going to continue. After you have formed the second one, you mark again. Sorry, you have to be careful so that you don't extend into the other one. So this is 4 inches. Our 4 inches is here. This is 4 inches. Then you go ahead and mark the midpoint. The midpoint is 2 inches. Then from here to this side 1 inch, from here to this side 1 inch, so that we can have 2 inches at the middle. So this one here, you bring it to where you have this pin like this, and then this one you take it close to this place, you fold it in like this. So on the underside, a verted pleat will be forming. Box pleat will also be forming. Okay. So we have done 3. So that is how you are going to continue to the end. Make sure you are placing it well. So that's why you need to mark or use your pin so that you use it as a guide. Okay, so you have 2 inches. You have 2 inches. So for the last one, mark your 4 inches. 4 inches is here. You get the midpoint. Then from the midpoint, mark 1 inch on each side, so that the center we have the 2 inches. Then you pick here, you bring it to this side like this. You also pick this to this side. Then confirm that you have 2 inches. So make sure you place it well. So this is for the waist of 12 inches. So let's see our waist from here to here. You see, you have 12 inches, and then you still have your zipper allowance on both sides. So this is how to form the box pleats. And then once you have formed the pleat like this, you go ahead and attach the band, or if it's to a dress, you add the upper side. So assuming this is the waist, so this is how you see pleat is very fine. Now this is a mini one. So for a waist of 30, So let's look at a practical example for a waist of 30. I'll just be using doing two examples because we don't really have much fabric. So let's work on the right side. So from what we explained on the board, if we are multiplying this one now that I just did, this one we are multiplying waist by 2. So for the one that we are multiplying waist by 3, from our explanation, we say each fabric, we are going to have 6 pleats. The width of the pleat will be 5, and then the total fabric that we need for the pleat is 15. Okay, we need 15 inches. And then we said we also need a zipper allowance. We said we also need a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches on each side. Okay, so for this one now, first of all, on the fabric, the fabric is going to be very long, so you mark as you go. This one we are able to mark everything at once because the fabric was not too long. But for the one that this fabric is very long, just mark as you go. So you start by marking the zipper allowance, 1.5. You mark it. So this is the zipper allowance, 1.5 inch. And then we said the amount of fabric we need for one plate is 15. From here now, we measure 15 inches. From here, we measure 15 inches, which is here. And then we said the wideness of the plate is 5. So, like we did for the small one, we get the midpoint of 15. This 15, you get the midpoint. Simply divide it by 2. So the midpoint will be 7.5. 7.5. So in order not to get confused, you can go ahead and just place a pin there. That is the 7.5. This is the middle. And we want the weight of the plate to be 5. So we'll divide 5 by 2 because we'll put half of 5 this way, half of 5 this way. So when you divide by 2, you're going to have 2.5. So you can place it like this and mark. So you mark 2.5 this way, you mark 2.5 this way. So you measure it to be sure that you have 5 inches. You see, we have 5 inches. We have 5 inches. So like we did in the other one, we pick this, we bring it to this side. We pick this, we bring it to this side. So you pick it like this, then you fold it in like this, and you come here. Then use a pin to pin it down like this, or you can pin it like this. Then you also pick this and take it to this side. You fold it in like this. So use your pin. So we have formed the first box split. Now for this one, because we are working with a wide width, once you form a box split in front, at the back automatically an inverted pleat is formed. An inverted pleat is formed. So if for example you wanted to do an inverted pleat, all you need to do is to be making a box split on the wrong side of your fabric. Once you make a box pleat on the wrong side of the fabric, in front you'll be having an inverted pleat. But this tutorial is just for a box pleat. In our next class, we are going to be looking at types of pleats. So I'll form the first one. So let's go ahead and form the second one. So from where we stopped, we are not leaving any space in between. So that is one thing with a box pleat. The pleats are close to each other. So from here again, we mark another 15. We mark another 15 inches. Okay, so this is where we have 15 inches. You can place your pins there. Here and then here. And then I said once you have gotten the 15, get the midpoint. The midpoint of 15 is 7.5. This is the midpoint. And I said you can place a pin there as a guide, as a beginner. You place your pin there so that you will know that that is the middle. And then we said we want the wideness of the plate to be 5. So on this middle, that is where we are going to share the 5. We'll put half of the 5 on the left, half of the 5 on the right. And when you divide 5 by 2, you have 2.5. So we place 2.5 on this side, and then we also place 2.5 on this side. So at the middle, you should have the 5 inches, which is what we have. Then once you have done that, you pick this, then you take it towards the left hand side. You fold it towards the left hand side to get to this beginning here. So you fold it like this. So once you get there, you pin. So make sure that the back is laying flat, that is not folded. So once you have done that, you also pick this, you take it to the right this time. Take it this way. And then you pin it down. So that is how to form a box pleat. So make sure that your pleat, that they are laying flat. So you see, there is no gap in between the plates, and when you check the measurements, you have 5 inches. Let me position this way. So it does not need to overlap. Just make sure that it's right, just next to the other one. So you see, we have 5. And if you also measure this, we also have 5 inches. Make sure your fabric is laying flat. We also have 5 inches. So that is how you are going to continue on the fabric. As you go on, you already know what you are marking. You are not guessing. So for the next one, you just continue with the pattern. From here, you mark your 15. You mark 15, you get the midpoint. The 5, you share half of it this way, share half of this way. If for example you wanted your width to be 6, then it means that you'll be sharing. If you share 6 to 2, that is 3 will be on this side, 3 will be on this side. If yours is going to be 4 inches wide, it means that 2 inches will be on this side, 2 inches will be on the other side. So that is how to form a box. To the end of this class. I hope you find these tutorials helpful. If you have questions, you can leave it on the comment section below. Also, you can let me know what you think about this video. So this is totally beginners friendly. Just understand just understand the calculation, and you just be pleating. Before you know it, in a matter of minutes, you are through. You don't need to pleat and be guessing. Some are wider, some are not up to, and then you start all over again. No. Just know this base, just know your waist circumference, know how many times you want to multiply the waist, then know the number of pleats that you want. Once you know the number of pleats you want, divide your waist circumference by the number of pleats, and that will give you the wideness of the pleats. And then for the fabric, you just get your amount of fabric. So once you know the amount of fabric, then it's very easy for you to pleat. And remember, you're not going to be pleating on the zipper allowance. The zipper allowance is what you're going to use to end the skirt, like when you need to put the zipper and so on. So I hope you find these tutorials helpful. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, this is a good time to subscribe, because I make videos every week and you do not want to miss my video. So until next time, when I come your way again, I remain G Joy. Bye for now.